I think, Brigitte, for my new listeners, if you'd give a quick overview of your history going back to the mid-70s and Lebanon and what happened.
Well, I was born and raised in Lebanon, and Lebanon used to be the only majority Christian country in the Middle East. My 9/11 happened to me in 1975, where radical Islamists blew up my home, bringing it down, burying me under the rubble, wounded as they shouted, Allahu Akbar. I ended up in a hospital for 2.5 months, and as I laid in a hospital bed, Jan, going from one surgery to another, hooked up to IVs in both arms, I would ask my father, why did they do this to us? And my father would tell me, because we are Christians, the Muslims consider us infidels, and they want to kill us. So I learned since I was a 10-year-old little girl that I am wanted dead simply because I was born into the Christian faith and lived in a Christian town. I ended up leaving the hospital and going back home, but my home was no longer the home I left. I ended up living with my parents in an underground bomb shelter in an 8-by-10 room without electricity, without water, and very little food. And that's where I lived for 7 years of my life, from the age of 10 till the age of 17, robbed of my youth, trying to stay alive and trying to fight for our survival from the Islamic radicals who surrounded us at that time.
Well, I think Israel played a pretty significant role in your life.
Yes, Israel was working with the Christians in trying to help the Christians take back their democracy and kick out the radical Islamic element in the country, because when the war started, the Christians thought, well, all the world big Christian countries are going to come see what's happening to the Christians in Lebanon. I remember my father telling me, America is going to come save the Christians. Britain is going to come save the Christians. France is going to come save the Christians. Australia is going to come. And as we waited in this bomb shelter, hearing the news on the radio about all the slaughter, all the Christians being slaughtered, Christian churches being torched and defamed, but nobody in the Christian world came. It was Israel that came to help the Christians in Lebanon when the Christians reached out. So Israel invaded Lebanon in 1982, and to basically help the Christians take back their democracy and kick out the radical Islamic element out of the country. And that's how we came out of our bomb shelter and back to rebuilding our lives. And I ended up moving to Israel in 1984 and working as a news anchor for world news in the Middle East, covering world events and reporting on world events. That's when we started seeing a true rise of Islamic terrorism around the world. As I read the news in Israel night after night, I started realizing that no matter where the terrorist activity took place, no matter what continent, the name of the perpetrators were always Muslims: Ahmed, Muhammad, Hussein, Ali. The name of the victims were always Westerners, Christians, and Jews: Terry Waite, Terry Anderson, Colonel Higgins, the Achille Lauro, the TWA flights, the Pan Am flights. And I started realizing, Jan, very early on and very quickly, that what I used to think was a regional problem between a majority Muslim Middle East trying to either kill or expel the minority Christians and Jews had become a worldwide problem. But the world was not paying attention.
Brigitte, but did you ever think that it would lead to the efforts for a literal caliphate, which is going on now, call it ISIS, ISIL, whatever, but did you ever think it would go that far?
At that time, I did not know much about that, and I did not think it would lead to that. When I came to the United States and after September 11th, and I started looking at the Islamic problem and looking at the Caliphate and them wanting to resurrect the Caliphate, that's when I realized that these people mean what they say. And actually, in my second New York Times bestseller titled "They Must Be Stopped," I dedicated a chapter about the Caliphate and about radical Islam. I have a chapter titled "Purists Drink Their Islam Straight," where I discuss that what we call radicals in the West are nothing more than devout Muslims following in the footsteps of Prophet Muhammad and doing everything they can to establish the caliphate in the world. And my book came out in 2008. That's before ISIS even declared the Islamic State. I mean, we in the West, very few people have heard of the word caliphate, but someone like me who followed this stuff, the writing was on the wall.
Well, I want to ask you, and be blunt if you'd like to be, and that is, how at at risk do you feel America is? Before you answer that, I want to play, it's a 45-second soundbite of you, and you are talking about the goal of ISIS, and it's to the Jews, the Christians in America, and then you close your little soundbite here with quite a stunning statement that I want to ask you about.
All right, Brigitte, what is your reaction to ISIS saying that they're going to raise their flag of Allah over the White House?
They mean it. People ask me, who should we believe? I say, believe those who say they want to kill you, because they usually follow through. They have a goal. ISIS has a goal, and they are going after their goal. And first, they're going to kill the Jews and the Christians, and then they're going to come for America. We are the bullseye. This is not going to stop in the Middle East. They have huge plans worldwide. They are recruiting worldwide. I just saw a video where they are holding signs of ISIS around the world in different cities to show that this movement is spreading worldwide. And their goal is America, and they already said, we're coming to the White House.
Yeah, what did you mean there when you said we're coming to the White House?
That's exactly what they said, literally. We are coming to the White House. They believe that they can defeat America because America is weak. They feel that it is their destiny to establish an Islamic caliphate throughout the world, not just in the Middle East. And they believe that the Islamic flag one day will fly over the White House.